Hello everyone, welcome back to my class. This is Mehjabin Fatima, a teacher at Elibeth High School and Junior College. So in this session we are going to start 18th chapter, that is caste discrimination and the struggle for equality. Now let's proceed with our chapter. Caste system has created one of the major forms of inequality in our country. For centuries people have fought against this discrimination and our constitution too strives to end it. Elimination of caste discrimination has been one of the major aims of our governments. Let us read about caste system works and what steps have been taken to end caste discrimination. So, caste discrimination or caste system, it has been created by one of the major forms of inequality in our country, and for centuries people are fighting against such caste discrimination and they are trying to end such discrimination, and elimination of this caste discrimination have been the major aims of our government also. So let's have a look how caste system works and what steps have been taken to remove or to eradicate the caste system from our country. A large number of the people in our country think of themselves as belonging to some caste or the other. They even put the names of their caste as a part of their own names. Usually people of a caste follow some common customs and worship a particular deity. Many people who follow the caste rules marry only within their own caste. In olden days, people of one caste followed the same profession or work, though these days this tradition has been changing fast. Thus, you can see that caste system creates some bonds among particular group of people and separates them from the other group. So, large number of the people in our country, they think themselves that they are belonging to some caste or the other. Means these people, they are having the caste feeling, means most people of our country are having the feeling of casteism, and they even put the names of their caste as the part of their own names, and usually people of the caste, they will follow some common customs within their own caste. And in olden days, people of one caste, they will follow the same profession of work, but nowadays this tradition has been changing fast. Thus you can see that caste system creates some bonds among a particular group of people and it separates them from the other people. However, the caste system had also given rise to great inequalities and discrimination in our society. Let's learn how this happens. People are engaged in different kinds of work like teaching, carpentry, pottery, weaving, fishing, farming, etc. to earn their livelihood. However, certain jobs are valued more than others. So, when we will see this caste system, it has been given rise to the great discrimination or inequality in our society. So how this happening? Because the people, they are engaged in different kinds of activities like teaching, carpentry, pottery, weaving, fishing, etc. to earn for their livelihood, earn for their survival. However, certain jobs like these will be given more preference, or jobs like these are valued more than others. So the activities like cleaning, washing, cutting hair, picking garbage are seen as tasks that are of less value, and people who do this work are seen as dirty or impure. So when we will compare the professionalism with other activities like cleaning, washing, cutting, so these people, they are considered as dirty or impure. This belief is an important aspect of the caste system. In the caste system, communities, groups of people were placed in a social order where each caste was either above or below the other. Those who placed themselves at the top of the ladder called themselves upper caste and saw themselves as superior. The groups who were placed at the bottom of the ladder was seen as unworthy and were called untouchables. So this belief is the important aspect which the people have been placed in the society, and these people, they are placing themselves at the top of the ladder and they are considering them as upper class, or they are calling them as superior, and they are also placing the people who are at the bottom of the ladder and they are seen as unworthy and they were called as untouchables. For example, some groups were only allowed to pick garbage and remove dead animals from the village, but they were not allowed to enter the homes of the upper caste, take water from the village well, or enter the temples. Their children could not sit next to the children of the other caste in school. So the example of this casteism feeling has been given here, that some people of the village, they are allowed to pick up the garbage from the village or pick up the dead animals from the village, but they are not allowed to enter the house of the superior caste or the upper caste people, and they are not allowed to take water from the well, or they are not allowed to enter into the temples, and the children even are not allowed to sit beside the upper caste people in the schools. Thus, we can say that upper caste acted in a way which do not give the so-called untouchables the same rights as they enjoy. These upper caste people, they are enjoying the rights, but they are not allowing the untouchables to enjoy their rights. Let's see an example of discrimination in schools. Om Prakash Valmiki is a famous Dalit writer. In his autobiography Jyothan, he writes, I had to sit away from the others in the class, and that too on the floor. The mat ran out before reaching the spot I sat on. Sometimes I would have to sit way behind everybody right near the door. Sometimes they would beat me without any reason. When he was in class 4th, the headmaster asked Om Prakash to sweep the school and the playground. He writes, the playground was very larger than my small physique could handle, and in cleaning it, my back began to ache. My face was covered with dust. Dust had gone inside my mouth. The other children in my class were studying and I was sweeping. So there is a story which has been taken from the Om Prakash Valmiki book, as he is a Dalit writer. So in his autobiography he has written about the Jyothan, and he writes that he had to sit away from others in the class, and that too he has to sit on the floor, and the mat will run out before reaching the spot, and sometimes he had to sit behind everybody right near the door. Sometimes they would also beat him up without any reason. And he also writes that when he was in class 4th, he had to sweep the school and the playground. It was very larger than his physique could handle, and in cleaning it, his back will begin to ache and his face will be covered with dust, and that dust will go inside his mouth. While the other students or other children were studying in their classes, he had to sweep all the playground and the school. The headmaster was sitting in his room and watching me. I was not even allowed to get a drink of water. I swept the whole day from the doors and windows of the school rooms. The eyes of the teachers and the boys saw this spectacle. Om Prakash was made to sweep the school and the playground for the next couple of days, and this only came to an end when his father, who happened to be passing by, saw his son sweeping. He confronted the teacher, and then walking away from the school holding Om Prakash's hand, he said loudly for all of them to hear. So while this boy Om Prakash was sweeping all the floors and all the doors and windows of the school, the headmaster was watching him, and the other teachers and the children were also watching this spectacularly. And at the same time, his father has happened to be passing by and he saw his son is sweeping. He confronted two teachers, and then walking away by holding the hand of his son, he said loudly for everyone to hear, "You are a teacher, so I am leaving now. But remember this, much master will study right here in this school, and not just him, but there will be more coming after him." So he said these words to the headmaster and the teachers, that remember this master, he will study right here in this school, and not just him, but there will be more like him. When the people are treated unequally, their dignity is violated. The dignity of Om Prakash Valmiki was violated because of the way in which he was treated. By picking on him and making him sweep the school because of his caste, Valmiki's schoolmates and teachers hurt his dignity badly and made him feel as if he was less than equal to other students in the school. Being a child, Valmiki could do very little about the situation that he was in. It was his father who, on seeing his son sweep, felt angry by this unequal treatment and confronted the teachers. So there are many students like this Om Prakash Valmiki who are being treated unequally, and through this the dignity of that particular person will be spoiled or violated. So same like this, the teachers or the headmasters of that school, they have violated the dignity of this boy Om Prakash, as they made him sweep all the school and they consider him as unequal. So this has been spoiled the dignity of that boy. And it was his father who saw his son sweeping the floors of the school and he confronted with the teacher. Today many teachers have been making special efforts to ensure inequality of students in the school. They not only encourage Dalit students to learn but also ensure their participation in all school activities like welcoming guests, leading prayer and making speeches in important function. Such teachers also ensure that all children sit and eat the midday meals together and serve food and water to each other. So today we can see that many teachers, they have been making special efforts to ensure the equality of students in the school. They are not only encouraging the Dalit students to learn but also they ensure their participation in the functions of the school or other activities which are done in the school. Like they are allowing these Dalits in the activities like welcoming guests and leading prayers and making speeches, and they are also ensuring that all students should sit and have a midday meal together and they can serve food and water to each other. Let's learn about B.S. Venkat Rao. 1896 to 1953. Batula Venkat Rao was born in Ghasmandi, Hyderabad. He was popularly known as Rao Sahib. His father Batula Sayanna was a domestic servant of the Europeans. B.S. Venkat Rao studied up to 9th class and was well versed in English, Urdu, Persian and Marathi apart from Telugu. He worked as a scripter in Pune before joining the Public Works Department of the Nizam's government. He rose to a very high position in the government of the Nizam prior to independence. So there is a story of Batula Venkat Rao who was born in Ghasmandi, that is Hyderabad. He was also popularly known as Rao Sahib and his father was Batula Sayanna, who was a domestic servant of the Europeans. And this B.S. Venkat Rao, he studied up to 9th class and he was well versed in English, Urdu, Persian and Marathi apart from Telugu. He worked as a sculptor in Pune before joining the Public Works Department of the Nizam government, and he rose very high position in the government of the Nizams prior to independence. Having experienced untouchability and its impact on the suppressed classes, he was determined to eradicate it. The Adi Dravida Sangham was formed with this objective in 1922 with the assistance of the people like M. Govindrajulu and M. Venkataswamy. Its main objective included abolition of the Devadasi system and bringing unity among the Dalits. Later, they formed the Adi Hindu Mahasabha in April 1927. So, this person, he has been experiencing the untouchability and impact on the suppressed classes, and he was determined to eradicate such untouchability. The Adi Dravida Sangam was formed with the objective in 1922. The Adi Dravida Sangam was formed with the objective of eradicating the untouchability in the year 1922 with the assistance of people like M. Govindrajulu and M. Venkataswamy, and its main objective was to abolish the Devdasi system and bringing back the unity among the Dalits. And later they have formed Adi Hindu Mahasabha in April 1927. The leaders of this organization went from place to place and organized meeting among the people to make them aware of caste oppression, the movements taking place in the country for the emancipation of the Dalit caste and the need to organize and defeated themselves. Some of them also promoted religious reform so that the Dalits were freed of the casteist superstitions. So the leaders of this organization, they went to the place to place and they have organized the meeting among the people and make them aware about the caste oppression and the movements taking place in the country for the emancipation of the Dalit caste and the need to organize and defend themselves. Some of them also promoted religious reform so that the Dalits were freed from the casteist superstitions. They have also constructed houses and library in Ghasmandi area and named it Audi Nagar. Across the Hyderabad city, they also constructed 18 temples for the Dalits. B.S. Venkat Rao contribution to the Dalit upliftment in Hyderabad was recognized by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, who invited him to preside over the Bombay Presidency Mahar Conference in 1936 at Bombay. The conference was attended by 10,000 people and unanimously resolved to support the movement initiated by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So they have also constructed the houses and library in the Ghasmandi area, and they also named it as Audi Nagar. And across the Hyderabad city, they have constructed 18 temples which were built for the Dalits. And B.S. Venkat Rao, his contribution in Dalit upliftment in Hyderabad was recognized by the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, and he also invited him to preside at the Bombay Presidency Mahar Conference in 1936, and this was attended by 10,000 people, and unanimously they resolved to support the movements initiated by the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. On 1st April 1947, the Hyderabad Assembly debated on the resolution moved by Palayam Pillai recommending to the President in Council for the grant of 20 lakh rupees for the uplift of the suppressed classes of the state. Sri Venkat Rao moved an amendment to the resolution raising the grant to 1 crore rupees. The House agreed to make a recommendation to the Prime Minister for the grant of 1 crore to the fund. So they are not only uplifting the Dalits, but they are also contributing towards them. Like on 1st April 1947, Hyderabad Assembly it debated on resolution and moved by Palayam Pillai and recommending to the President in Council to grant the 20 lakh rupees for the upliftment of the suppressed classes. And accordingly, the Nizams have constituted the Depressed Classes Welfare Fund and sanctioned 1 crore rupees for the same. The Nizam has honored him by awarding the title of Khusru-e-Dakkan, and he was also being elected by Rajya Sabha by the State Legislative Assembly after 1952. Let's see about equality after independence. When India became a free nation in 1947, our leaders too were concerned about the different kinds of inequalities that existed. The people who wrote the Constitution of India, a document that laid out the rules by which the nation would function, were aware of the ways in which discrimination had been practiced in our society and how people had struggled against this. Many leaders of these struggles, such as Dr. Ambedkar, had also fought for the rights of the Dalits. So when India became free in 1947, the leaders were also concerned about the different kinds of inequalities that still exist. And the people who wrote the Constitution of India, a document that laid out with the rules by which the nation should function, were aware of the ways in which the discrimination had been practiced in the society and how people had struggled against this. And many other leaders had also struggled, and along with them Dr. Ambedkar had also fought for the rights of the Dalits. So these leaders, they set out a vision and goals in the Constitution to ensure that all the people of India were considered equal. This equality of all persons is seen as a key value that unites us all as Indian. So with this vision, they set out with the goals in the Constitution and ensure that all the people, they are considered as equal. Everyone has equal rights and opportunities. Untouchability is seen as a crime and has been legally abolished by the law. People are free to choose the kind of work they wish to do. Government jobs are open for all. In addition, the Constitution also placed responsibility on the government to take specific steps to realize this right to equality for poor and such marginal communities. So everyone is having the equal rights and everyone is having the right to do whatever they wanted to do. For every work they are free. There is no casteism or there is no force for the people who are the Dalits to choose that particular profession. There is no force for them and they all are treated equally, as discrimination is legally abolished by the law. One of the steps taken by the government includes the midday meal scheme. This refers to the program introduced in all government elementary schools to provide wholesome cooked lunch to all the schools. Tamil Nadu was the first state in India to introduce this scheme in 2001. The Supreme Court asked all the state governments to begin this program in the school within 6 months. So one of the step which has been taken by the government to eradicate or to abolish the Dalit system includes the midday meal scheme. This refers to the program which has been introduced in the state like Tamil Nadu, where the government elementary school will provide wholesome cooked lunch to all the children. And this scheme was introduced in the year 2001, where the Supreme Court asked all the state governments to begin these programs in their school within 6 months. And this program has many positive effects. This includes the fact that more poor children have begun attending schools, and teachers have also reported that many students, they would go to their home for having the lunch and they would never return to the school. But by having this midday meal program at the school, many students, they are attending the school and they are not going for their lunch, and they are not going back to their home for having lunch. And many mothers also don't has to feed their children at home. This program has also helped reduce caste prejudices, because both lower and upper caste students in the school eat meal together. In Telangana, in almost all the rural school, midday meal is prepared by the members of the women self-help groups who are invariably from deprived classes, and in quite a few places Dalit women have been employed to cook the meal. The midday meal program also helps to reduce the hunger of poor students who often come to school and cannot concentrate on studies because their stomachs are empty. So this program has been helping the students who are very poor and who cannot afford the food and who cannot concentrate on their studies because their stomachs are very hungry. So this program has been helping many poor people in different ways. One of the main reasons for this is that attitudes change very slowly. Even though people are aware that discrimination is against the law, they continue to treat people unequally on the basis of their caste, religion, disability, economic status and sex. It is only when people begin to believe that no one is inferior and that every person deserves to be treated with dignity, the present attitude can change. Establishing equality in a democratic society is a continuous struggle. Individuals as well as various communities in India should contribute to achieve this. So even though people are aware that discrimination is against the law, and still they continue to treat people unequally on the basis of their caste, religion, disability, economic status, etc. And it is only when people begin to believe that no one is inferior and every person deserves to be treated with dignity and everyone is equal, and this equality in democratic society, it is a continuous struggle, we can say. So we all together can struggle for this common goal, that is abolition of discrimination of Dalits or untouchables, and together we should contribute to achieve this goal. So this was all about our 18th chapter, that is the caste discrimination and the struggle for equality. So we will wind up our class here itself and let's continue our next chapter in next class. Thank you.